Columbus. One of our elders is related to Tim DeFore. He put me in touch with Tim, and I met Tim and Troy at Pizza Ranch in Columbus. So at that initial meeting, we actually had people sign a napkin from Pizza Ranch.
Connection Christian Church, we started praying for a planter. We started praying for a group of people that would come together around that planter and help them to accomplish the vision that God continues to place in your guys' hearts.
It's been great to see how God has answered those prayers. First, by leading us to Mike and Kara, then to Josh and Amy. And over the last
We weren't looking for a duplicate of what God is already doing in and through other churches. We were looking forward to the kind of place where people can meaningfully connect in very deep ways and have a dramatic impact on the communities around them.
it is just obvious that God has been at work as we continue hearing the updates of what is happening there at Connection.
You guys are going to keep killing it. You are doing so much more than you think you are. I can look forward down the road to just a few years knowing that what God is doing through you is going to bear fruit, change people's lives dramatically.
And completely turned it upside down. Coming into Connection, I never thought of myself as, good morning. Never thought of myself as somebody who has God prompted to start helping build a church. And it was an amazing God threads of pulling me into Connection and pulling all of you into Connection. Today we're going to just talk a little bit about some memories, talk about some beginnings. I love our origin story and how Raleigh, Troy, and Tim all got together and has been praying over our church for a very long time before it actually happened. So we're just going to talk a little bit about where we started, how we started, and what in the last 6 years were about and what the next 6 years are going to be about. And it's always the same story, that we are here to connect, grow, love, and serve. That's what we are all about. And we are going to continue with that mission of connecting the Columbus area to Christ. So we started 6 years ago, 5 families meeting in a living room. We figured that it was about 40% of our church congregation was helping and serving in one way or another. And most of that was through setup and tear down and doing all the different community events that we had. And through starting that process, we had this idea of starting the inflatables ministry. And that was something that helped us grow so much just because of the love and care that we have for our community. We talked about... Thank you. It's okay. So if we could go to the next picture, I went way ahead of myself. Yes. Am I like too close to the... No, you need to get it closer. My ears are too big. Or my face is too small. Before Lost Creek came, we first started going into the housing authority. And that was our first real building that we started meeting in. And at the housing authority, one of the first families of the first 5 families was Stephanie Waverka. And here is part of her story.
Here we are with Stephanie Waverka, and got a couple questions for you.
Sure.
What brought you to Connection?
Well, since moving to Columbus way back in 2005, hadn't found a church yet, been to a couple that I didn't really felt like fit. More intimate setting, like I really felt like I fit in, so I liked it.
Good point there. That small groups work, and we have a lot of them going on, so if you like small groups, we'd love to have you join. Anyway, side note. What keeps you coming back to Connection?
Well, it's the same thing. It's the people and the smaller crowds. Everybody's just so welcoming and non-judgmental and just very caring. So.
And what are a couple of your favorite memories that you have, or favorite experiences that you have coming to Connection? That's 6 years.
Oh, well, if my kids were here, they'd say like all the Easter celebrations and anytime we had the bounce houses out. But for me, well, me too. You know, my kids got along with everybody and they fit in really well. And so that was really important. And just all the support that everybody showed me over the last 6 years through some really difficult times that I've been through. So I don't know if I have specific memories, but just as a whole, just all the love and support that everyone has given me.
And if you were to speak to somebody who's sitting out in the audience right now about what...
I hope if you know the songs, we invite you to sing along with us. Our God is greater, our God is stronger, God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power, our God, yeah. See, water you turned into wine. Open the eyes of the blind. There's no one like you, none like you. Into the darkness you shine. Out of the ashes we rise. There's no one like you, none against. Then what can stand against? Our God is greater. Our God is greater. Our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. Our God is greater. Our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. Amen. Church, go and grab a seat.
All right, Josh, if you want to stay up here and grab your mic. My coffee stand. No, that probably should go over there. So,
So,
about 6 years ago, Mike needed a partner because he couldn't do this alone. Now, tell me about what it was like first meeting Mike and how you came involved with Connection.
and it's like, oh, worship pastor, huh? It's like, well, that's not what I went to school for. I'm just a silly youth pastor who likes to shoot kids with foam for Jesus. And so, but in the meantime, like where we were, I was literally probably playing guitar every week on the worship team and leading and picking songs every other week. And so I'm looking at this like Columbus. I've been to Columbus. That could be a thing. So I messaged Mike, and what was really odd was looking at his Facebook profile like, whoa, besides the fact that we went to the same college, just enough apart, we never met, never heard of him. I don't know why that's the case. But just to say, we had like dozens of mutual friends and just never connected. And so I'm messaging him. We eventually call. And at some point in time, he's coming up to Sioux Falls, which is just like 2 hours away from where I was. I said, hey, tell you what, would you be able to meet on this day? We can do lunch, connect, hang out, chat, and kind of tell you what I'm thinking. And so he did the typical like wine and dine, really trying to win me over, and took me someplace fancy. We went to Chuck E. Cheese.
Food.
That's that, church plant budget right there, folks. So we went to Chuck E. Cheese and ate crappy pizza, and the boys ran around and played games and wasted money. And but just listening to Mike talk and hearing his vision and passion for starting up a church plant, and the fact that I could play my electric guitar every week and not get fired, like that's what you want? Oh, okay, sweet. I'm curious now. And so the more we looked at it and the more we prayed about it, like this June 1st date kept lining up because we had a job until June 1st. We had a home. Like we knew we had to move out and move somewhere. We had a home until June 1st. Hey, Mike, when would you like me to start? How's June 1st work? Okay, lottery, like, cha-ching. Okay, God, I think you're telling me something here. And so that was kind of how I got connected. We came down, I think it was Mother's Day weekend, 2014.
Go ahead and play that.
It's probably
photo.
some old crummy picture. Who is that hot bass player?
Yeah. She's
That's my
over in
wife,
the
by the
kids
way,
area.
if you
She
didn't
would
catch
normally
that.
be in here.
Yeah,
but-
she's usually singing and playing keys, but she's watching and taking care of kids this morning. But yeah, we came down Mother's Day weekend and just to see what was going on. And what was awesome was that there was this real Christian community already happening. And so some of the things that we felt like we were lacking where we were in our last ministry of just really having these deep-rooted relationships, people that actually wanted to hang out with each other like outside the walls of the church. And I mean, we didn't even have walls yet of our own. So this is awesome. Like this organic family that's going on. And it was just very informal. Like we made no plans to look at housing or to like find, but by the time we left that Mother's Day weekend, my wife already had a part-time job, and somehow we had signed a 6-month lease to a duplex that we couldn't even see.
Playing, Mike would be, all the kids would separate out and go to their own thing, and it'd just be Mike preaching to the band. So that was a fun, very beginnings in that small room of the housing authority. And go ahead to the next picture. And that is when the inflatables started hitting that, and we started becoming what's known as the inflatable church. And that was a great outreach because we were getting known as that inflatable church, and it did bring a lot of people into our church and our mission. And that was and I'll ask Mike that a little later of what that vision was like about how the inflatable church started. But this was the Schools Out Blowout, our very first inflatable event. We were so excited. We got all these boxes in. We ordered the boxes of the inflatables, and we were unpacking them. And either they didn't send it or we threw them away. I think we probably threw them away. But there are tarps that go under there, and we couldn't find the tarps. And I think in all the confusion and the the funness of it, we threw away the tarps. And so I think we went down to Baumgars or Menards or something and got some cheapo tarps to get under there, because we spent a lot of money on these things and we did not want them punctured. That was our first big inflatable event. And then we spent about 2 months in the housing authority, and then we found a new home and started doing the professional the professional setup of a mobile church. And these were our first signs and the first electronics that none of us knew how to set up or do or run or anything. So that was a learning process for us all. And that was our first service at Lost Creek, which didn't have air conditioning. I'm going to keep bugging Mike on that whole thing.
Yep.
That big celebration Sunday was our first.
What do you remember about that first Sunday?
It was in the elementary school that I grew up in.
Oh, that I didn't know.
Hadn't been there in 40 years or so, so that's pretty cool.
But it was a very familiar feeling. The church that we came from in Kansas City, my parents were part of a group of 30 people that helped start it. So we set up every morning and tear down after each service. And so it was a very nostalgic home feeling for me.
Good. First, how did you hear about Connection, and what brought you into those doors?
Actually, the associate pastor from my church in Kansas City had emailed me a pastor's information from Omaha that I believe was just helping with the plant. And he gave me Mike's email, and through a few emails back and forth, we got it all figured out. And then we came that following Sunday after we found out when and where it was. So,
Good.
Yeah.
What did you think about the Connect Kids in the hallway?
I think the children's ministry is what really brought us in, and just having a home for the kids that they actually can go to every Sunday, and it was a lot of fun for them as well.
That's big.
Yeah. One of those first couple Sundays that you guys were here, we did a pizza with the pastors at Mike's house. We really got a core group out of that first pizza with the pastors. What do you remember about that?
Well, I mean, largely just meeting people, because we didn't know very many people at all.
Mike had a big deck, and really cool, and taking it to the streets, and
A really fun connection was finding out that my parents and Amy's parents went to Bible college at MCC together.
Oh.
And so then we organized a week. We were still at Lost Creek back then, but where they both came and got to see each other again.
Oh, fun.
So yeah, they were friends even before I was born.
Oh, wow.
So a long time ago. Yeah,
That's a cool connection.
that was very cool.
Good. Let's go back into Rocco. What was that process like of taking your son through the idea of giving his life to Christ? Can you go into that a little bit?
Well, we had lost a couple people in our community and my grandpa. And I think those really just said in him that we don't know when, and we need to be prepared at any moment.
yeah. He's one of the guys in Silver Creek was his baseball coach coming up, and it was just out of the blue, had no idea he was even having any issues.
39 years old and just gone. Took a nap on his couch and didn't wake up. So yeah, that was big. That was a big loss for him. Still.
Yeah.
But and then just when my grandpa passed, and I mean, we just want our we want more than our family, but we want our family to be together eternally. And so just talking about that and making sure we're prepared for whenever.
It was a joy seeing that happen and seeing him come up from the waters. It was a pretty exciting day for, I know you guys, and definitely for all of us here too. Well, thank you guys for being part of Connection. Thank you for loving on us and allowing us to love on you guys. We love having you around, and you're part of the family.
Thanks for letting us in the door.
All right. All right. Thank you.
God has really been a blessing to Connection and a lot of the families within Connection. Church, let's stand and let's bless the Lord in His name this morning. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before. Oh, my soul, I worship your holy name. You're rich in love and you're slow to anger. Name is great and your heart is kind. For all your goodness I will keep on singing. 10,000 reasons for my heart to find. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before. Oh my soul, I'll worship your holy name. And on that day when my strength is failing, the end draws near and my time has come, still my soul will sing your praise unending. 10,000 years and then forevermore. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before. Oh my soul, I'll worship your holy name. Bless His name, church. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before. Oh my soul, I'll worship your holy name. Yes, I will worship your holy name. Lord, I'll worship your holy name. You may be seated, church.
We had a very fruitful time at the, I don't need that. We had a very fruitful time at the Lost Creek School, and we grew tremendously not only in numbers, but in our faith as well, and realizing that God is always in control, because there's always change happening. And that's one of the greatest lessons that I have found through church planting, is that change is constant. And we absolutely love, or most people don't like change. I, for one, really like change. There's something in my office that you can't help but notice every time you walk out of my office. It's a quote from a general. It says, if you don't like change, you'll like irrelevance even less. And so that always sticks with me. And when oh wow, look at how young those kids are. Look at Eli over there. Always hamming it up. That was in that schoolroom over to the side, right? Was that the hallway? That was the hallway. Oh yeah, that's right. We had this giant hallway in the school, and that was the very west end. This was a trip that we took to Wisconsin to get we upgraded trailers. And 4 guys, 23 hours, and one time in the ditch that we never told that we were going to, or we didn't want to scare their wives, so we said, nope, this didn't happen. So sorry if the wives are in here. Well, actually, there would be only one. Did you hear about that, Kara? You did. Okay. So it wasn't that big of a secret. Okay. But that was a fun trip. After 2 years at the school, we found a semi-permanent home for our church. And there's me in a familiar pose, being at the front gate greeting people. Funny. This was the Northtown Mall. We moved there in, what year was that we moved there? 2016, and this was our first dedication that we did there at the school, or at the Northtown Mall. There was a church or an outreach center in there before, and they had a stage that was somewhere different, and we had to do some remodeling and some painting. I don't know if we got any pictures of the painting or not, but that was the first dedication that we did there at the Northtown. It was a great home for us, and again, more change happening. One of the families that started joining us when we moved over to the Northtown Mall were CJ and Sonia. So I'd like to invite them back up, if they want to come up. CJ and Sonia Brewster.
Good morning.
Welcome. So, kind of the same questions that we've been hearing is, what brought you to Connection?
Well, it was a bright sunny morning, walking through the park, just kind of minding our own business, and this guy with tattoos all over and earrings and kind of some wild hair jumped out and said, "Hey, you guys got a church to go to?" It was Josh, by the way. But no, a few years ago, we knew we wanted to find a church, and we had a couple in mind, and Josh gave us a card. And
we still had it. This was sometime after that time that we had met him, and we still had it. And we're like, well, let's go back to that church that guy was at, you know. And so he's stuck in our heads.
Yep.
Josh
you know?
does that.
Yeah. And so we had 3 churches in mind we were going to check out. Connections was the first one that we went to, and it was like game over. We found our home. Mm-hmm. It was, you know, the welcoming, non-judgmental, just felt at home.
Actually knew a couple people that went here.
Mm-hmm. And now they don't, and we're still here. So, mm-hmm. I mean, to me, that's big. So.
Mm-hmm. And what keeps you guys coming back?
the relationships that we've made.
For me, it's the roots of this church is based on First Christian Church, out of Norfolk, and NCC, of course. So, and that's kind of where my roots are. So that's why I keep going back. And the people.
Yeah.
Love the people.
Good. And what are your favorite memories, if you could pick 2 or 3 memories that you have of Connection?
I think a couple of mine are the Easter egg hunts, the flood relief, and just how everybody came together, through thick and thin, whatever it was, whatever needed done, everybody stepped up and came through. So.
And I think with you going to Show Me too, I think that was big for you.
That was fun.
That was a great trip. We'll do that again soon, next year.
I've been thinking about this since we started, and the one musical one that keeps coming back to me is when we did Drummer Boy for Christmas one year. That was amazing. So, but just different things that have happened, bits and pieces of it all stick with you. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for coming up. I appreciate it. And we're ready for another song.
We're going to sing a song, you guys. We're going to stand on your feet again. We're going to sing a song that we've been singing for a long time. And Paul and Sarah Clark introduced this song to us back when we were meeting at Lost Creek Elementary. It was a song that they had sung at one of their old home churches. And we've just loved it ever since. Place of freedom. And we hope that through being part of Connection, through growing a relationship with Christ, you've found freedom through that.
Till I can reach heaven, I'm gonna shout.
like I am unashamed. I'm gonna shout for joy at the mention of your name. I've come to worship. I've come to worship. There's no one that can bring me peace, that can wash me clean like you, Lord. There's nothing in this world that can free me. Oh, you save my soul. I'm gonna lift my hands till I can reach heaven. I'm gonna shout your name till the walls come falling down. I've come to worship. I've come to worship. I'm gonna sing my song like I am unashamed. I'm gonna shout for joy at the mention of your name. I've come to worship. I've come to worship. I'm gonna lift my hands till I can reach heaven. I'm gonna shout your name till the walls come falling down. I've come to worship. I've come to worship. I'm gonna sing my song like I am unashamed. I'm gonna shout for joy at the mention of your name. I've come to worship. I've come to worship.
Church, you may be seated.
I just had that set up right. Just kidding. So, we did a lot of changes to that Northtown property, and as you can see, we really did it up really nice from the picture before to this picture here, and had a lot of growth during that time. And throughout our time there at Northtown, we did a lot of different events, and one of our favorite events was the Halloween thing that we did, and we did what do we call that? Just a Halloween carnival, and that brought in a lot of people into the rooms, and we really had a fun time doing that kind of stuff, and just all kinds of different things that we do throughout the community being at that home. So yeah, that was a lot of fun being in that property. Another couple that started joining us at that location was the Neischwangers, and if they want to come up, we'll have a conversation. So, you guys are getting rather plugged in. You're doing devotions now, right? How fun is that?
It's definitely new. I never thought I would do them, but it's been eye-opening and I'm learning a lot, so.
Are you enjoying it? Good. So you can do it permanently now.
I guess I could do it permanently. Michael probably wrote me into it, so.
Oh yeah, he's good at that stuff too. So what brought you guys to Connection?
So we have no ties to Nebraska at all.
She's from Indiana. I was born in Texas, raised in Colorado. We both ended up at college in Texas. Took a job with Cargill, and they said, here, go to Nebraska. So came here, and about the first 6 months, I didn't really seek out any churches. Then she moved up about 6 months later, and started looking, tried some out. I'm pretty picky on how services are conducted and the music and stuff, and just wasn't what I liked. And so I asked my boss where he and his family went, and he told us here he really liked it. So we showed up one day and we walked out, and I said, well, that's where we're going. I mean, I liked it from day one, so
Good.
That's how we ended up there.
Good. And what keeps you coming back?
I think since the first moment we walked in the door, we found a personal connection with everybody here. Everybody was super inviting, and they took a time to really get to know us and create a personal interest in our lives. So I think that initial bond is probably what's kept us here.
Yeah, and what she said, the ties and the personal feel it has. I mean, you remembered our names from the first time we came, like fourth time. Every time I was like, golly, what's that guy's name? I can never remember. And then I had to hear somebody say it. I'm like, Tim, that's what it is. And I don't know, just, yeah, the atmosphere. I mean, you come in, people are the same every time. We've been, because of my work schedule now, I can't, but she goes every Wednesday to Mike's for the small group, and she's doing the devotionals, and I mean, and checking up on us, and every week it's nice.
Good. And what are one or two of your favorite memories from being involved?
It's not really a memory, but probably a God moment. When we moved here, we didn't know anybody. And so I don't know about his mom, but my mom prayed a lot within her small group for us to find a community, people outside of our jobs that we could connect with. And she really prayed for connection and the people that we would meet here. So my small group, I think, is a big one. They become like family to us. And then second to that, I think just the opportunities that we've been given. I know that in my heart, there's a lot of things I wanted to do to grow my faith, and not even voicing them, and the devotions coming about and stuff like that to get more involved.
I thought the first Easter egg hunt went to was pretty cool. And then we were fortunate enough, we got married last September, and we were fortunate enough to do premarital counseling with Mike one-on-one at the Northtown Mall. And so that, I think that really helped establish our roots with Mike and connection. And then I really enjoyed going to the Wednesday night small group at Mike's, but so one day I'll be able to go back.
Yeah, you will. You will. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate you coming
Thank
up
you.
and being part of Connection. There you go. Got it? All right. Thank you guys. So this looks familiar. After a couple years at Northtown, we had some plans to do something different. And again, this is a God change that we got to be flexible in church planting, because it doesn't always go like we want it to go. It always goes like God wants it to go, right? And so when we make these big plans, and sometimes plans change. And I think it's God saying, okay, you need to be on your toes a little bit, because your plans are not my plans. And so through that, we found our current home, and it seems to have been working out very well for us here. That was one of our first Sundays here. And I like our new colors a lot better than those colors. And the kids area and a bar. Whoever thought we were going to have kids area and a bar? That's pretty cool. But throughout this process, Mike has been a pretty tremendous leader through the process. And Mike and Kara have been a very big part of my family now, and I love them with all my heart. And look how young those kids are. I feel so old just looking at those kids. How do you feel, Mike? He said short. I think all three of them are taller than Mike now, aren't they? Well, not quite. Hannah will be there in about a year. But that family has meant so much to me, so I'm going to bring Mike and Kara up right now, and we're going to talk a little bit. So most of us know your story, but if you want to do a short version.
Short version. We were in Minnesota, been there for almost 9 years. 9 years by the time we left. A couple years before leaving, I had a dream about planting a church, and we began to look into that. God just really didn't open the door at that point in time, but we got plugged into church planting in Minnesota. Helped with a church in the Duluth area get started while serving on their management team. But a couple years later, we were looking at swapping houses, getting something a little bit larger for our family. And people would ask, like, so are you leaving? No, we're not leaving. We're just moving. We're getting a bigger house. And then we get a message on Facebook from a friend who said, hey, we're looking at starting a new church in Columbus, Nebraska. We've been praying for a church planter. You're at the top of the list. Are you interested? And so in a week's time, we went from we're moving to a different house to we're moving to a different house in a different state. And it took a little bit longer for that process to pan out, but in October, we went through a long assessment process and got the seal of approval to go ahead and partner with the group here. And by the end of December, we were in Columbus in 2013, like the day before it turned 2014. And then we started connecting with some people that were already here from other churches and started doing that Bible study in the living room and eventually rolled over into all the other things that you've been talking about.
Mm-hmm. And through the role of church planting and the Nexus group, just a short version of what Nexus is and how important they have been through the process.
Nexus has been tremendous, and we've had some of the representatives from Nexus come through every once in a while. Greg Garcia, Phil Claycomb. Phil Claycomb is the director of Nexus. It's based out of the Dallas area. And in going into church planting, seeing in Minnesota the church planting network that was available, and it was so loosely connected, it really needed a lot more wisdom on how to do it. And so when we got partnered with Nexus, I'd never heard of them. Had no idea, but they have been so invaluable with their experience because at that point in time, they had planted, I think, 30 churches and had a pretty high success rate. And so what they've kind of said is that we know church planting, but your management team knows the community. And so we want to help give you the nuts and bolts, and they'll help apply it to your context. And so Nexus helped us with some financial resources. They helped us with some training. They still help us with training. And it's been amazing. Twice a year they do this thing called Think Next. And I used to just go to it by myself, or occasionally Kara would go with. And as we started to grow our leadership team here, we've taken more and more people. And some of these guys, like, they give up a week's time at work, a week's vacation to go down and sit in those meetings. It's just been invaluable growing time as a team and as leaders. And Nexus has been a huge part of that.
Now, we've gone through a lot of changes over the last 6 years. What has been the most rewarding and the most challenging through those 6 years?
I'll let you start.
Oh, you're doing a great job. Boy. I don't know. It's almost like the most rewarding and the most challenging is the people, because we love the people that come, and some move on and some move to other places, and so losing people can be really hard, but watching new people come through the doors and their lives change is really the most rewarding as well.
Yeah, absolutely, without a doubt. I mean, we do this because of people. And getting to have new relationships, getting to meet new people, walking through some really tough times with people, that is both heartbreaking and heartwarming. To be able to have those kind of relationships. And of course, anytime somebody leaves, like, it's hard not to take that personal. We've never experienced in all of our church life, and we've had 3 long-term pastorates, 1 in Council Bluffs as well, where we've reached so many people, but we've also had a number of people move on. And it's just, it's different, but that's probably one of the biggest changes. Obviously, we've gone through just a ton. And it seems like, whether you're in the kids ministry or worship ministry, like the musical chairs that kind of sometimes goes on, the facilities from one to the next. And like you said, sometimes you think you're going one place and sometimes you don't end up going to that place. Or, you mentioned Lost Creek's AC. Like, I walked in there, I thought, oh, look at all those vents, and like, this is set up, like, we're going to be set. And I didn't go in summertime and find out that the AC wasn't hooked up. And it was hot in there. And we would have to bring a change of clothes so that we could set up, and then so we could have service. And then by the time we were done, we needed to take a second shower for the day just to get ready for the day. So that was crazy. Like, being over at Northtown Mall, like, I never would have thought that that's where we ended up, but it was a great venue for us. We were forced into like 3 services there because we were really tight with some of the space, and thinking about going to the next facility, and not even thinking about the Eagles Club, but gosh, it's been tremendous to us, the amount of changes they've allowed us to do in here. It saves us a lot of cash on a week-in, week-out basis for rental, which is huge. If you didn't know this already, it helps us save towards the future building. And that's something that we really need to be able to do. So kind of like a starter home, like, we need this to be a good opportunity to build us to the next step.
Mm-hmm. Now, some of the most rewarding parts of what we do is seeing life change. And I think now would be a good time to do a video of the last 6 years of baptisms.
All right, we're going to change it up. Good call. All right, so some of my favorite memories, put it together in a video for you. This isn't all of them, but this is a large part of them. Check them out.
Sin has lost its power, death has lost its sting, from the grave you've risen, victoriously, into marvelous light I'm running, out of darkness, out of sin. By the cross, you are the truth, you are the light, you are the way. My demon now is beating, my deepest sins now clean. No breath fills up my lungs, and now I'm free, now I'm free. My dead heart now is beating, my deepest things now clean. Your breath fills up my lungs, and now I'm free, now I'm free. Sin has lost its power, death has lost its sting, from the grave you've risen, victoriously, into marvelous light I'm running, out of darkness, out of sin. By the cross, you are the truth, you are the light, you are the way, into marvelous light I'm running, out of darkness, out of sin. By the cross, you are the truth, you are the light, you are the way. Sin Lift my hands and spin around. See the light that I have found. Oh, the marvelous light is Christ in you. Into marvelous light I'm running. Out of darkness, out of shame. By the cross, you are the truth, you are the light, you are the way. Into marvelous light I'm running. Out of darkness, out of shame. By the cross, you are the truth, you are the life, you are the way. We continue to sing these words of praise to our God, to the one who's paid it all, to the one who went to the cross to die in our place to make this life possible. Let's continue to sing to him.
Guys, it never gets old. We're here to change lives, to introduce people in the Columbus area to Jesus Christ, to see old lives die and new lives be born again. And every single time it's a celebration. Looking back at some of these videos, some great, great memories. You got to see the baptism of one of my kids, Hannah, and she was pretty young, and you may not even realize, but like every week she was up with me at 7 a.m., doing setup. She was in the car right next to me, making things happen. And I've had these memories with my kids. Two of my boys, only have two, they help out with audio, video. Elijah and Hannah both help out in the kids area. And church planting has been a family venture. And for some of you guys too, on the ground floor, it's been a family adventure for you too. And you cannot go back and share your memories without having connection woven in there. And it really is a family for us. And we are so glad to be able to celebrate 6 years of ministry with you guys. You are here because God has foreseen it, right? God has been at work in your life. And Raleigh Hutton, one of our lead guys, he was at Kingsway in Omaha when we got started. He said, God is always at work upstream. And God was at work in your life before you ever came to Connection, and probably before you ever came to Columbus. Maybe you were born in Columbus, and before you were born, God was at work in your life, and God was planting a church here in Columbus long before we ever arrived. We are thankful to be a part of it, and I say from day one, God, don't let me screw this up. And I really feel that. You know, don't let me get in the way of what you want to do. And so thank you so much for allowing my family to be a part of this. I shared with some of our leaders something that's pretty important to me. Actually, Pastor Josh and I both recently, probably within the last month, have been reached out to from some other churches, and this oftentimes happens in ministry where they say, hey, we're looking for a new pastor. Are you interested in being a part of that? And both of us have declined. And I didn't even have to think about it. I mean, honestly, I didn't even have to think about it. This is where God has placed us, and this is where we are. And, I'm not going to say never, because God moves in ways that we don't ever understand. But as for now, we are 100% bought in. And so whenever you think of what's going on here, we want you to know that God has definitely placed us here, and He's allowed us to grow through this process as well. We are not the same people that we came in 6 years ago. And I'm not just talking about weight and height either. But a lot of ways, you guys have helped us to grow in this whole process as well. We want to wrap up with a couple of things that we do on a regular basis here, and then we've got one more song here, and I know that we're stretching our time, but we felt like there was a lot of stuff to weave in here. And before we dive into communion, you may not know this, Tim Chris, who's been here since before I was here, like literally, and you see him almost every week standing at the front door. He is an introvert by nature, and he got up here and emceed this whole thing. Like, can we give him a hand? Like, that's not an easy thing to do. In your seat or on your table, you should find one of these little cups. This is what we use for communion. Matter of fact, we just sent one of our students to Manhattan Christian College. Abby sent me a text this morning. She said she went to church. They had these little communion things like we have, and it's like welcome to COVID season. We all have these little communion things like we have. But inside the top layer is a little wafer, and the wafer is, for us, a remembrance of the body of Christ. And so when we see these pictures of baptism, this marks dying to our old self. We put the body of sin to death, and we raise into the body of Christ and into His image. And so through His brokenness, we're healed. And that's what we remember. And so if you believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Messiah, the Anointed One, the Son of God, if you believe that He died for your sins, then I invite you to come to the Lord's table and partake of His body this morning. And in the next layer, you're going to find some juice. And this, for us, helps us to remember the blood of Christ poured out. The lifeblood that was pumping through His body. You and I, we've died, but now we have this injection. We've had a blood transfusion, and it's now His blood coursing through our veins. It's His life that we live for. And so if you believe that Jesus is not just your Savior, right, but your Lord, and you want to follow Him, we invite you to participate in remembering Him through the blood of Christ. I do want to say that it's been a while. You probably were following through on some of these dates. COVID had a little something to do with this, but we have not had any baptisms for a while. And I can't help but thinking God is probably not working in the lives of individuals. And so if you have questions about what baptism means, what this looks like for you in your life, I would love to invite you into the waters of baptism, where you get to be buried with Christ in death and raised to new life. It identifies you with Christ. It identifies you with the body of Christ. It's a commitment made before the congregation to say, yes, I'm all in. I want to follow Jesus. I want Him to be the core, fundamental part of who I am from this day forward. Then we want to have that conversation with you. And so please see Pastor Josh or myself. We would love to have that conversation with you. And we can definitely break out the stock tank again. I know it's not an active part of our, furniture around here, but we do have it, and we would love to share it with you. We also have something around here. And some of the guys, and no matter how much I try to get them not to say it, they say it all the time. We have these little cans, and I bought them at Walmart for like $2 a piece. They're trash cans. But do you know that offering buckets, if you get the ones like legit online, they're like $50 a piece. They're crazy. A trash can will work just fine, right? And so we have them placed around the room because we're not passing them right now. But if you would like to invest into the ministry of Connection Christian Church, this is a great way to do that. You can also do it online. And by the way, we'll work with something online as well. We're going to be rolling out a new website before too long. We're going to be rolling out a new app before too long. The giving is going to be interwoven in there a lot better than it is now. And hopefully you guys like what we're working on behind the scenes here. But hopefully within the next month, you're going to see those kind of things just popping out there, and we want to invite you to participate in that. So if you would like to give to the ministry, that's the place to do that. A couple of announcements as we invite the band to come back up that we just want you to be aware of. So I'm going to start furthest away and work back. September 13th is our fall kickoff. Basically what this means is invite everybody, let's have a party, right? We're getting everything started. So September 13th is when this is going down, and this is also the time in which we really fall into fall programming. So youth ministries, small groups, everything is just boom, like it's exploding, right? Out the gate, we're hitting it hard. And so if you want to be in a small group, if you want to sign up to be a part of any kind of ministry, if you want to serve in any way, I would encourage you to go back and talk to the ladies at the connections table. They will get your information, and we will follow up with you, and we'd love to have you on board and to be an active part of what God is doing at Connection. That's coming up on the 13th. On the 6th, so this is Labor Day weekend. It's a little bit later this year. A couple of things. We are going to have a drive-in church service over at the Goodwill facility. And so we're setting that up. It's going to be an outdoor service, live venue. But if you're dealing with any kind of restrictions with COVID and whatnot, we still want to invite you. We're going to broadcast over the FM transmitter again. and you can come and you can be a part of that. And then in the afternoon, and it has been the case for a number of years, the Barcel family is inviting us out to their place. And so they do it upright. They roast a lot of meat, and they have a lot of fun. I believe that there's going to be a bluegrass band this year. I think, are we doing that 70s band or 80s band or some other band? Not sure yet, but it's going to be fun. It's 1 p.m. There is a flyer back at the Connections table if you want more information on that. And then on the 26th, which is next Sunday, you heard the Garings talk about Pizza with the Pastors. This is your chance to hear more of this story and to hear how you can get plugged in. That's going to be next Sunday at my place. And again, there's a sign up at the back table, Connections. It's got the address in there, so you can go back, sign up, be a part of that if you haven't been a part of it. Free pizza. Kids are invited. We'd love to have you there. Come on in and join us next week. So that's a little bit about what we've got going on. Thanks for being here. Thanks for loving on us. We love you guys. Let's stand and sing this last song here together.
We're going to sing one last kind of nostalgic song together this morning before we head out. We appreciate you taking a little extra time with us as we've celebrated the last 6 years. Church, here's to 6 years more of God bringing people to life. Let's sing this together, and I'm going to try not to screw it up. Let love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so bold to see a revolution somehow. Sing it again. Let love explode and bring the dead to life. A love so bold to see a revolution somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom. And this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, He's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. My God's not dead, He's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring, he's roaring, he's roaring like a lion. He's roaring, he's roaring, he's roaring like a lion. Let hope arise and make the darkness hide. My faith is dead, I need a resurrection somehow. Let hope arise and make the darkness hide. My faith is dead, I need a resurrection somehow. Now I'm lost in your freedom. In this world I'll overcome. My God's not dead, He's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, He's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring, he's roaring, he's roaring like a lion. He's roaring, he's roaring, he's roaring like a lion. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. Let heaven roar and fire fall. Come shake the ground with the sound of revival. My God's not dead, He's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. God's not dead, He's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. My God's not dead. He's surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. My God's not dead. Surely alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion. He's roaring. He's roaring. He's roaring like a lion. He's roaring. He's roaring. He's roaring like a lion. Thanks so much for joining us, church. Have a great, great day. We'll see you guys next Sunday.